everybody, and welcome back to the Blossom Review. How are you? Today we're reviewing Abema TV's Miss King, an 8-episode drama that aired from September to November 2025 and that you can find internationally on Netflix. If you haven't watched the show yet, don't worry, this review should be mostly spoiler-free. I won't be revealing any of the biggest plot points or twists and turns of Miss King. So let's start with a quick introduction to the world of Miss King. What is Miss King about? After losing her mother, Kunimi Asuka, played by Non, feels angry and aimless. Her father, Yuki Shoichi, played by Nakamura Shido II, abandoned her as a child. Since then, he has become a successful professional shogi player. So shogi is a type of Japanese chess, let's say. And he is now the head of a wealthy and powerful family. Meanwhile, Asuka is poor and alone, with no pride to speak of and nothing to live for. That's when she meets former shogi player Todo Seigo, played by Fujiki Naohito, who encourages Asuka to take away the one thing her father loves the most, shogi. While this premise might lead you to believe that this is a revenge tale, Miss King is actually a story about self-discovery, non-conformity, and the pursuit of freedom. It is an incredibly cinematic journey of a young woman who needs to learn how to master her own emotions to defeat the world that has always tried to silence her. Asuka's universe might be gritty and sorrowful, but it still has this electrifying, magnetic rhythm to it that compels you to come back, episode after episode. To Asuka, shogi went from a passion that she shared with her father to a symbol of a negligent, self-centered parent. As she grew older, her passion turned into numbness, and she kept on living just to fill up the emptiness that her father left in her mother's life. Once her mother is gone, that numbness turns into rage. But without knowing who she is or what she wants, Asuka has no means through which she can channel all that anger. Asuka may be furious, but she's aimless. Society has made her father a king while leaving Asuka and her mother to fend for themselves. The world we live in isn't a kind place to women, and Asuka knows that. Surprisingly enough, Miss King is actually a story about women fighting such a sexist world. It is a story about how men are free to climb the social ladder while women are forced into very specific and very limited roles. When Todo offers Asuka an objective to become the first ever female kishi, so a kishi is a professional shogi player. The thing is, in Japan so far, we have only had male kishis. Because female professional shogi players are pretty much considered to be a separate category, one that is not as important as the kishi category. So when Todo offers Asuka this objective to become the first ever female kishi in history and defeat her father, Asuka has to navigate this male-dominated industry that constantly dismisses her. Being a woman is seen as a weakness, so sexism beats underneath every single storyline in Miss King. It's funny because when Asuka wins a game of shogi, she is seen as a rarity. But when she loses a game, it's no surprise because, well, she's only a woman. Of course, we also need to talk about Hayami Yuna, played by Narumi Yui, a talented Joryu Kishi. So a Joryu Kishi is a female shogi player who is to marry Shoichi's son. Yuna is expected to give up on her career upon marriage. And it's very interesting to see how after her games, reporters never ask her about her career. They never ask about the results of her games as a shogi player, but they only ask her about the preparations for her wedding. Yuna's dream to become the first ever female Kishi drowns with every scene in which she's portrayed as just a cute doll playing shogi for fun. While Asuka fights back, Yuna seems tired, jaded, cynical, because she's been facing the intrinsic misogyny of this industry for way too long. Every single woman who has tried to become a Kishi has been mocked and silenced and belittled. So Miss King shows us that Asuka's true goal isn't to defeat her father, but to defeat an entire system that enabled her father to become who he is. Beyond the unfair world that surrounds her, Asuka is her own worst enemy. For half of the show's run, we see as Asuka comes and goes on her resolve. She constantly wavers, uncertain about how to move forward in a society that keeps pushing her back. Asuka is stubborn, single-minded, angry, impulsive, and impatient. It's only once she learns how to tame her emotions and how to wield her temper to her benefit that she's able to march bravely towards her objective. Miss King then offers a variety of internal, interpersonal, and external conflicts that keep its narrative moving forward organically. Most importantly, all of the core conflicts in Asuka's journey related to her ability to control her emotions. Miss King is a battle of a young woman against herself. Over and over again, as she stumbles and falls, we see Asuka rediscovering her identity to achieve her goals. Narratively, Asuka's journey is fairly straightforward, but the thing that stands out in Miss King is that all of its characters are given well-rounded characterization. No one is completely good or completely evil. Our self-obsessed and envious antagonists are keen to place their own interests, desires, fears and insecurities above anything and anyone else. Their own pains and sorrows have been used towards destroying others, a path that will inevitably lead to their downfall. They aren't just bad people, but individuals with backstories and reasons and sorrows who make one misguided decision after another while seeing themselves as victims instead of active characters in their own lives. Meanwhile, Asuka embodies non-conformity. She is loud and enraged and persistent, and she couldn't care less about tradition. She's often seen in dark clothes, and her style isn't ladylike at all. Yuna, on the other hand, represents conformity. She is quiet and polite, feminine and timid. But when Asuka and Yuna come together, we realize that they are both very much aware of the discrimination that hinders their every move. Asuka then inspires Yuna to take back control of her life, to dare to defy the prejudiced expectations that have been imposed on them. All of that is delivered through a script that appreciates silence, which is incredibly rare nowadays. Even though the dialogue can be a bit trite at times, this is clearly a story that allows its characters to be quiet. There is no such thing as unnecessary narration or unnecessary spoken exposition in Miss King. With a very limited runtime of 30 to 45 minutes per episode, no scene or line is wasted. The series knows exactly when to show and when to tell, which allows the show's stunning cinematography and flawless sound design to take the reins. Miss King is extraordinarily shot and edited. Every single frame counts on meaningful compositions and careful production design, which are then perfectly combined and given rhythm to through very, very thoughtful editing. Sound design also plays a huge role in Miss King, offering the story an extra layer of significance and tension. Miss King might be dark, but it's an absolute marvel to look at and listen to. So the final question is, should you watch Miss King? Thematically and visually gritty, Miss King is a portrayal of trauma, parental neglect, sexism, and hypocrisy. However, this isn't a toxic narrative that pulls all its characters into endless spirals of malice. Miss King is ultimately a story about courageous women who fight the odds to reclaim their identities and freedom. That means that if you expect to find a traditional revenge story in Miss King, you will surely be disappointed. Asuka's journey reminds us that in real life, revenge isn't as cathartic as the movies make it out to be, because what is done and nothing will ever change our pasts. But Asuka reminds us that we can still create our own futures, and there is nothing more empowering than being free to be whoever we choose to be. Miss King is available on Netflix. Quick reminder that our complete review of Miss King is now available on the Blossom Review, and over on Substack this week we reviewed TBS's Love is for the Dogs, which you can find on Viki. I'll leave all the links in the description if you guys want to give them a read. Guys, I really hope you like this video and you subscribe so I can see you here every week for a new review. Thank you so very much for being here. Have a lovely day today and take very good care of yourself. I'll see you very soon. Big kiss. Thank you.